Welcome to Mastering BATNA and VPPA negotiations. But this time we are firmly on the buyer's side, the corporate offtaker. You are the sustainability director, the energy procurement lead, the CFO's trusted advisor for decarbonization strategy. You are tasked with securing a long-term VPPA that locks in price stability, delivers credible renewable energy claims, and supports your company's ESG's commitments. All while protecting the bottom line. In this lecture, we will uncover how the best alternative to a negotiated agreement, the BATNA, becomes your ultimate shield and bargaining chip. You will learn how top buyers prepare multiple options, use market intelligence, and confidentiality walk away from suboptimal deals without derailing their sustainability goals. By the end of this masterclass, you will have the skills to think like the most sophisticated corporate offtakers in the VPAA market. We will break down how buyers create BATNAs that range from alternative VPPAs in other ISOs to green tariffs to renewable energy certificates, RECs, bundles, to hybrid procurement strategies. We will show you how to measure each BATNA's value, not just in price per megawatt, but in terms of sustainability impact, reputational benefits, and operational fit. And most importantly, you will learn to bring BATNA into the negotiation table without showing your entire hand, because the strongest BATNA are used, not flaunted. In VPPA's negotiation, urgency is your enemy. The moment a seller senses that you must close this deal because your CEO announced a renewable target or your ESG's report deadline is looming, your leverage drops. A strong BATNA removes that pressure. Let's take a real example. A multinational consumer goods company was negotiating a wind VPPA in the Midwest at $41 per megawatt. Because they had parallel talks with two solar developers in ERCOT, they were able to signal that other options existed without disclosing specifics. The wind developer eventually came down to $37 per megawatt and agreed to add annual REC replacements guarantees, purely because they knew the buyer had credible alternatives. BATNA also protects against hidden risks. If a seller insists on terms that heavily shift curtailment risk to the buyer, a strong BATNA allows you to push back. These terms don't meet our risk profile. We have other projects willing to share this risk more equitably. That could be our answer. In practice, buyers who prepare at least two credible BATNAs before starting the VPPA negotiation consistently secure lower prices, better flexibility clauses, and stronger performance guarantees. As a buyer in the VPPA market, your BATNA is only as strong as the diversity and credibility of your alternatives. Think of it as a portfolio approach. The more quality options you have, the more confidently you can push back on price, contract risk, or unfavorable clauses. Multiple VPPA projects are the gold standard for leverage. If you are negotiating in ERCOT but have another solar project in SPP at a competitive strike price, you are negotiating from strength. Utility green tariffs works well in regulated markets where the direct PPAs aren't an option, or the physical one. They may not offer the best price, but they are quick to implement and credible for ESG's reporting. On-site generation, whether rooftop solar, battery storage, or CHP, is not just about energy cost saving, it's also a visible sustainability statement for your stakeholders. It's, it's evident. REC purchases gives you a rapid fire way to meet reporting obligations. Even if your VPPA falls apart, while they don't provide a hedge, they are a legitimate fallback. Hybrid procurement strategies combine multiple tools to spread risk and meet targets flexibly. And finally, energy attribute swaps allow multinational buyers to match renewable claims across geographies without starting from scratch. By building these BATNA categories before negotiations, you walk into the room knowing you are never concerned into accepting a bad deal. Let's unpack these BATNA types in more detail. Alternative VPPAs. This is the strongest BATNA you can bring into the room. A signed or near final term sheet with another developer, even if the project is in a different ISO. The fact that you can pivot quickly puts real pressure on the seller to match terms. Utility green tariffs, especially relevant in regulated markets like parts of the Southeast USA. This allows you to source renewable energy through your utility special tariffs program. It's fast and low risk, though often more expensive and with less additionality. On-site generation, a long-term asset that delivers both operational savings and ESG visibility. For example, a logistical company is installing a rooftop solar across its warehouses offset 20% of its load, reducing its urgency to close a VPPA on unfavorable terms. REC purchases, while they don't hedge against electricity market volatility, RECs can protect your ESG reporting and public commitments in the short term, keeping pressures off your negotiation timeline. Hybrid procurement, which is large corporates like tech giants, often mix VPPAs with on-site assets and RECs to avoid putting all their eggs in one basket. Energy attribute swaps. This is an advanced move often used by multinationals, swapping RECs between geographies so claims align with regional operations. Complex but extremely flexible if executed well. The key takeaway is BATNA isn't just about having a backup plan, it's about having a menu of credible, financially sound options that you can activate quickly if talks stall. Evaluating BATNA strength is about removing guesswork. Not every backup option you have will truly give you leverage. Some are just paper tigers. Financial competitiveness is the first filter. You are not just comparing strike prices, you are comparing value over time. This is very important. Think escalation clauses, market spreads, and whether the VPAs actually hedge your exposure in volatile power markets. Risk profile is where many buyers underestimate their exposure. Basis risks, shape risk, curtailment clauses, and even developer creditworthiness can turn a cheap deal into an expensive headache. Sustainability credibility ensures your BATNA will hold up in ESG reports, investors' calls, and media scrutiny. Stakeholders will question deals that lack geographic or technology relevance to your commitments. Time uncertainty, well, which is about whether this BATNA can actually deliver when you need it. So, a project years away from COD doesn't help if your net zero target date is near. Execution readiness. Ask whether your internal machine is aligned. Legal teams, finance, sustainability, and the board. A BATNA that's ready to sign tomorrow is worth more than one that needs a month of preparation. Scoring each BATNA on these criteria gives you a clear picture of which ones give you real leverage and which are just safety blankets. This scoring framework turns qualitative judgments into quantifiable leverage. Here's how it works. Each BATNA is scored on a scale from 1, which means weak, to 5, strong, against 5 weighted criteria. The weights reflect how important each factor is to your organization. For example, a buyer with strict carbon targets might give more weight to sustainability credibility. In this example, VPPA option B and the green tariffs score equally overall, but for different reasons. VPPA option B wins on financial competitiveness, while the green tariffs wins on risk and certainty. This nuance matters. If your primary VPA negotiation collapses because of delivery risk, the green tariff might be the better BATNA, even if it's slightly more expensive. The framework also helps you to explain your negotiation position internally. When a CFO asks why you are walking from the $35 megawatt VPAA, you can point to the risk profile score and show that a safer $38 per megawatt option is actually better for long-term value. The best negotiators don't just have BATNAs, they measure them, rank them, and activate the right one at the right time. So, using your BATNA is like holding a high value card in a poker game. You want the other side to know you have it, but not see exactly what it is. Signal strength without full disclosure means casually mentioning that you are also evaluating several comparable projects with competitive terms. This keeps the seller aware they are not your only option, without giving them enough detail to benchmark against. Leverage competitive tension by subtly hinting at a momentum with other developers. For example, we are at an advanced stage with another supplier whose COD aligns with our 2026 target. This creates urgency without crossing into threats. This is very important. Using timing pressures effectively. If you have a public ESG report or internal sustainability milestone approaching, sellers know delays could hurt your position, but you can flip this by showing that another project can meet those dates if they cannot. Avoid overplaying with your BATNA. If you invoke it too early or too aggressively, you risk appearing insincere or overly transactional, which can harden the seller's stance. Deploy BATNA selectively. Bring it into play when you face non-negotiable clauses that harm your position. such as extreme curtailment risk allocation or aggressive credit requirements. And most importantly, never bluff with a fake BATNA. In the VPPA world, networks are tight and information travels fast. If a developer discovers your backup project doesn't exist, you will lose credibility not just in this negotiation, but in the market as a whole. A real example, well, a tech company in Europe hinted at several alternatives while negotiating with a solar developer in Spain. They never shared specifics, but the seller, worried about losing the deal, came back with a 6% better PPA price and more favorable risk sharing terms within 2 weeks. BATNA misuse can backfire, turning what should be a source of leverage into a liability. Revealing too much is a classic error. The moment you share specifics about price, location, or technology, you give the seller a target to undercut or dismiss. This can also corner you if your BATNA falls through later. Relying on a weak BATNA, one without financing, permits, or credible delivery timelines, leaves you vulnerable. I have seen buyers enter final VPA's talks thinking they had a viable plan B, only to find their backup project stalled at interconnection. Using BATNA as a threat damages trust. VPPA negotiations, especially for long-term partnerships, require relationship capital. Threatening to walk at every disagreement can create hostility that lingers post-signature. Failing to maintain BATNA readiness is another trap. Many buyers drop their backup project too early, assuming the primary deal is close enough. Then a last-minute change in contract terms leaves them scrambling with no alternative. Overestimating BATNA's appeal internally can also cause friction. A project that looks good on paper might not align with corporate ESG's narrative or public commitments, making it harder to get broad board approval. Lastly, neglecting relationship value is short-sighted. Even if you ultimately choose another project, the developer you walked away from could be a valuable partner in the future. Burning bridges for short-term leverage rarely pays off in the VPAA world. Real-world example is a US retailer in the PGM market overplayed their BATNA by threatening to move to a Texas wind project. Their legal team later realized that Texas deal carried unmanageable basis risks, but by then the PGM developer had moved on to other buyers. Think of BATNA not as a one-off tactic, but as an integrated part of your VPPA negotiation strategy from day one. In the pre-negotiation phase, your goal is to build and verify a credible set of backup projects. This means identifying developers with bankable projects, confirming permitting progress, and aligning COD timelines with your sustainability roadmap. In mid-negotiation, keep your cards close, but let the seller know you are not negotiating in isolation. Phrases like, we are in advanced discussion with other projects that meet our needs, send the right message without giving away leverage. At the term sheet stage, your BATNA becomes an active tool. If the seller pushes for rigid curtailment clauses or high collateral requirements, you can push back by referencing more favorable terms available elsewhere. During contract drafting, resist the temptation to drop your BATNA early. Deals can collapse over small but critical details, and losing your fallback option at this point can leave you with no leverage. In the post-signature phase, your BATNA work isn't wasted. Document what made your backups strong or weak, so future procurement cycles are faster and more effective. Finally, continuous improvement is key. VPPA markets shift quickly. A robust BATNA pipeline today might be obsolete in 12 months. So refresh it regularly to maintain leverage in every future negotiation. Case in point, a global manufacturing company kept a rolling list of 6 pre-vetted VPPA projects. In 2023, when one of their deals stalled during interconnection negotiations, they executed a different deal within 30 days, avoiding 12-month delay in their renewable energy targets. This case mirrors a real-life VPPA negotiation in North America. The buyer, a Fortune 500 consumer goods company, had a clear corporate goal: source 100% of its electricity from renewables by 2030. They entered negotiations for an 80 megawatt solar VPPA in ERCOT with a competitive $34 per megawatt strike price and a COD in 2026. But they didn't come to that table empty-handed. They had a full vetted BATNA, a 75 megawatt wind VPPA in SPP price slightly higher at $36 per megawatt, but with far better basis risk protection and an earlier COD of 2025. The roadblock came when the seller insisted on leaving curtailment risk largely on the buyer's side, refusing to cap it below 5%. For a deal of this size, this could mean millions in lost value over the contract's 12-year term. The buyer strategically deployed their BATNA without revealing exact pricing. They stated, we have another option where curtailment is capped at 2% and the developer absorbs additional basis exposure. Unless we can see comparable protections here, it will be hard for us to justify prioritizing this project internally. So, the seller automatically recognized the credibility of their claim, especially since the buyer's BATNA was already known in industry circles as a bankable, shovel-ready project. Within 2 weeks, the seller revised the offer, curtailment risk capped at 3% and excess basis risk shared equally between parties. The buyer secured a financially strong VPPA without lowering the strike price, simply by leveraging the strength and credibility of their BATNA. This win not only improved risk allocation, but also enhanced internal stakeholders' confidence in the procurement process. In cross-border VPPA negotiations, your BATNA is not just another project, it's another jurisdiction. With its own regulatory, economic, and political dynamics, diversifying BATNA across market protects you from a single country's policy reversals or interconnection bottlenecks. If your primary project is in Spain, a backup in Portugal or Italy can safeguard timelines if Spain's permitting slowdowns. Accounting for accuracy for currency risk is crucial. A BATNA in a market with a volatile currency may look attractive on paper, but could erode your financial gains if exchange rates move unfavorably. Smart buyers integrate hedging strategies into BATNA evaluation. Understanding local permitting timelines is a non-negotiable. Some BATNA is in a country with a strong grid priority for renewables, so you can use that as a benchmark to pressure your primary developer to address curtailment risk. Adjusting risk weighting for geopolitical stability and market liquidity ensures you are comparing apples to apples. A slightly more expensive BATNA in a politically stable region may be worth more than a cheaper but unstable market option. Finally, using cross-market BATNA to challenge delivery terms can be powerful. If your BATNA is another market, has an area COD, you can apply subtle pressure. Our alternative project can deliver RECs by Q2 2025. What would it take to accelerate this timeline? Real-world example, a multinational tech company negotiating a VPA in Poland used BATNA in Sweden to pressure for early COD. The Swedish project's permitting advantage forced the Polish developer to offer accelerated construction and additional basis risk coverage. So let's close by distilling BATNA into a practical, repeatable action plan you can apply to every VPPA negotiation. Start early. Don't wait until a negotiation stalls to think about your fallback. By then, it's too late. Identify and vet BATNA candidates months before the RFP launch. Diversify options. Build resilience into your BATNA pipeline by covering multiple geographies, grid regions, and technologies. This not only gives you more leverage, but also shields you from regional market shocks. Signal strengths, not specifics. The most effective BATNA are used subtly. Let the developers know there are alternatives without revealing exact price points or locations, which could weaken your hand. Deploy selectively. The BATNA should be a precision tool, not a blunt instrument. Use it to counter specific deal-breaking terms like excessive curtailment risk or unfavorable pricing structures. Keep BATNA active until signature. Even the best-looking deal can unravel late in the process. Maintaining your alternative until every clause is agreed and signed prevents last-minute vulnerability. Document lessons. Every VPPA cycle teaches you something. Capture what made a BATNA strong or weak, so your organization's next procurement process is even more efficient. Final thought, in high-stakes VPPA negotiation, BATNA is your insurance policy, your leverage engine, and your fallback plan all in one. Treated strategically, it can save millions, mitigate risks, and keep your renewable energy goals on track without compromise. Thank you very much for listening to this lecture. I am Dr. Zaid Ziyadat from Jordan. I wish you all the best and hope to see you again in other lectures.